Hello, my name is Reverend Dr. May Elise Cannon. Today is Tuesday, October 24th. Today is day 18 of the ongoing horrific catastrophe between Hamas and Israel, the attacks that began on October 7th and the bombing campaign of Israel into Gaza. As we've been watching the news, and if you've been paying attention, more and more accounts of what happened on October 7th are coming to light. And there are videos that can be seen of just the horror and the trauma. And for Jewish people in Israel and Jewish people around the world, this solidified the greatest fear that perhaps a Holocaust could happen again. And so I think, and I have been criticized for not being empathetic enough for that great trauma. And that is real. And that tragedy is real. And at the same time, there is a catastrophe happening right now in Gaza. And throughout this morning, I've been getting text messages that last night was one of the most violent nights of bombing. We heard from Israel that the campaign would increase. The reports that we're hearing are that 700 or 800 people are already reported dead just in the last 24 hours, which is bringing the death toll in Gaza to almost 6,000 people. And it's believed that there are another 1,000 people under rubble. And the bulldozers that are in Gaza have completely run out of fuel, and no fuel is being allowed in. And so the searching for bodies or for people who have died has stopped because there's no more fuel. We've also received reports, and this is just from text messages, and I also think it's being reported on the news, but there are reports from the hospitals that something is being dropped that's burning people's bodies. And there have been reports, the New York Times reported on this in the first week of the war, that white phosphorus may be being used. And I gave a report on that early on. I'd encourage you to look it up. This is not substantiated. And so, I'm not a reporter, but it's just horrific. It's a horrific situation. And so Churches for Middle East Peace, we will work with whoever wants to call for an end to violence. And we want to call that all sides would honor the dignity and humanity of all people, Jews, Christians, and Muslims, that this is a tragedy for all people, and that the tragedy and fear and desperation of the Jewish people needs to be honored, while at the same time, Palestinians in Gaza need to be differentiated from Hamas, and that civilians should not be punished for the atrocities, of Hamas and their actions on October 7th and thereafter. We're continuing to pay attention to whether or not there will be a ground invasion. Israel is saying that is not going to happen immediately, and so we don't know the specifics in that regard. We're watching what's happening in the region in general, at the border with Lebanon. We are calling for a ceasefire. Please, if you have not signed our first action alert, that's on our website, www.cmep.org. And we have another one coming out today, Tuesday, that is calling for a ceasefire. And we're joining with humanitarian organizations, religious organizations, Jewish organizations, calling for a ceasefire so that the bombing from Israel into Gaza and rocket fire, Hamas has said they're open to a ceasefire. We hope that Israel will be as well. And we desperately also are calling for the return of the hostages. There are more than 200 people being held in Gaza by Hamas. And so those are the big picture summaries. We also know that water has still not been turned on, and that the humanitarian assistance that is being allowed into Gaza is just the smallest amount. It is not beginning to meet the needs, the desperate needs of what's happening in Gaza. So please, Americans, people around the world, pray for peace. We have a prayer gathering tomorrow on Wednesday morning. I don't know what time. Go to our website. We're having a prayer vigil. His Holiness Pope Francis called for Friday to be a day of fasting and a day of prayer. And that's at 4:00 East Coast time. We'll have a number of our heads of communion, a number of religious leaders. It will be a Christian prayer gathering, but we invite you, all people, people come together to pray, to call for peace, and to call for a ceasefire. We'll have a briefing on Thursday morning where we'll give an update on what's happening. Thank you for following us. Give to organizations that are responding to the humanitarian needs. Give to organizations like CMEP that are seeking to address the systemic issues that are advocating on Capitol Hill. Give, take action, and pray as we work together toward peace.